Welcome back to All About Love. As you know from the intro, we are Carly Ann and Caitlin, and we're so excited to be here. We are back for series three. How
Can
crazy
you
is that?
believe? I know. It feels like ages and no time at all since we've actually done this.
I know. And you know what? I feel like I'm really excited. I think we've got some really important topics this series. We're sharing, as always, what's helped us, what helps the people that we work with, just things that we're really passionate about, questions that people ask us all the time. And basically, we are just feeling really passionate about helping people, helping you, whoever's listening. We want you to find your glow. We want you to get your glow back. We want you to feel more confident in love, in yourself. Like it is about, it's all about love, but it's also like all about your happiness, well-being life. Is that right, Caitlin?
Well, definitely, because I think we think about love like always as the external thing that we get from somebody else. But the reason we came together and created like our first program, which is Glow, was because we realized like so many people had felt like they've lost their sparkle and they were relying on somebody else or external fixes to kind of get it back. And actually, guys, like we're here for you, and this is about you and you becoming your own little mini coach and
Yes, I
everything that
love
goes in
that.
with it.
Yes, we want to be your cheerleaders and we want you to become your own biggest cheerleader as well. And actually, you mentioned Glow. Today's episode really is inspired by our first round of Glow, right? Our 5-week
Mhm.
program, because this is a theme that we saw coming up time and time again, I think pretty much across everyone. So we want to talk today about how to stop or certainly reduce caring about what other people think. Like, don't you think that just came up so much?
Yeah, it was actually the number one reason that people kind of listed as joining. They wanted to stop kind of feeling like they were so nervous about rejection and stepping out of their comfort zone. And it became a really big blocker for people, becoming more confident, reaching the life they want, taking risks, having adventures, and things like that. And it was all wrapped up in this kind of comparison and fear of rejection and things like that. So, this is why we're making this our first episode.
Yeah. And do you know what? Feel like that's a bit of a theme across this series, actually, now that I think about it. And particularly with caring about what other people think, because ultimately I think I would go as far to say, and you can think about your own situations, what's going on for you in your life right now, that it's possibly the number one, top two, in the top two reasons that people are held back in life, in their relationships, in their dating. Ultimately, we dim our own light in so many areas. We care what our parents think, we care what our crush thinks, we care what our friend thinks, we care what our, I don't know, mother-in-law thinks. Like there's always someone that we're thinking about, like, oh God, no, I can't do that because what will X say?
Hmm.
Isn't it? And then we don't follow our own path.
Yeah. And do you know what? I think we've also missed a big fat one there,
What?
which is we mainly compare and care about people on social media,
Oh
like
my God.
strangers we don't know. Like, I think it was Stylus. They did this research quite recently where it was only 1 in 10 women said they had high self-esteem, and comparison was rated as the biggest factor in it. And I think it was like 85% of women said that social media was one of the biggest negative effects on on self-esteem.
Really, like
Yeah.
just comparing yourself. Because do you know what? I feel like we compare what we look like, someone going on holiday, their skincare regime, anything, isn't it? Their morning routine. Like you're comparing everything now.
Well, yeah, and then you've always got a baseline for basically how you're fucking up or not being enough, or what, how you're not doing quite good enough because you haven't like nailed that daily routine with 10,000 steps.
Yeah. Do you know what? I will tell you something interesting. So I had a training. I feel like have we already spoken about this somewhere? But I had a training on we were being trained in eating disorders. And so
Mm.
this topic came up. and like the social media, the comparison, that influence. And actually, what this guy said, really interesting, is that the comparison has always been there. It's now just a different means. So if we look back before social media, this theme of comparison was still coming across in, I guess, like in their work that they were doing then, but it was just different. So it was like, I don't know about you, but for me, I do remember the magazines and the size zeros, and it was
Yes.
where it came from was different, but it's still very much there. Like we are just inclined to look at what other people are thinking, what are other people doing with their lives, and making decisions about how we live our life based on that, even if it's not best for us.
Well, yeah, and that must go back to that kind of evolutionary perspective, right? Where, you don't want to be kicked out of the group because then that literally means you die.
Yeah, literally. Because that's the thing, isn't it? Right. I guess it is worth touching on because I guess we're looking at comparison a bit here. And actually, when it comes to caring about what other people think, usually that is one of the main traps we're falling into. But either way, whether we're comparing ourselves or we're just thinking about what are other people going to say about this, there is some positive in that. That can be a positive. It can drive us. It can, yeah, help us to survive. It can give us that motivation. So I don't think we're ever dismissing that. We're just looking at where is it holding us back.
Yeah, and also I think it's bullshit to think you're going to get rid of it or like think, oh, I'm never going to care what people think. I'm always going to be my own person. I'm never going to let anything affect me. Like it is a very kind of innate. I can't remember who did this study, but it was basically how you can use comparison to fuel you. And they gave the example if you're running on a treadmill and you look over and you see your neighbors going faster, that can push you to create a personal best time or something like that. And that's a really positive example of how you can use it to recognize your goals or up your game in some area. But it gets really tricky, I think, when combined with the kind of more negative self-esteem aspects,
Yeah.
where we are looking at strangers to give us that validation or we're feeling lacking in some way. So I think if it's an area that you're like you feel good about, you're quite confident in, comparison can be great. But if you don't kind of have those secure sort of foundations or that healthy view of yourself, it can become really toxic really quickly.
Yeah. And before we look at the tips, I guess, particularly to help us when it is becoming toxic, what's been your experience, I guess, currently or in the past, just whatever comes up for you naturally, when you think about caring about what other people think? Like, have you seen any ways it's held you back personally?
Mm. So at the moment, I'm sure I'll have announced this by the time this comes out, but I'm pregnant.
You
And
took my answer.
got in there first. Carly's literally about to pop. So, guys, just as a behind the scenes, we're pre-recording this because I mean, think Carly, you're literally due in 2 days, aren't you?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, so we're pre-recording this because we really, really want to put this content out for you. But we don't know when it's going to come out
Yeah.
because Carly's about to have a baby. Mine is due in December.
Which
So,
will be soon when you're listening to this,
yeah.
not already past if you're listening in the future.
Um, so the comparison aspect and how it kind of makes you really aware of your own choices and what other people think has definitely affected me, even in you know, people who've had maybe less positive experiences with birth and with kind of newborns and things like that. People are always saying to you, oh, you won't be able to do that. Oh, why, why would you think about that? Oh, that's not the way it's going to be. It happened for me this way. And it kind of gets like a little bit shamey. You feel like because you don't really know anything. Like I've got no idea how to like keep a little child alive at this point. So you get all this like advice and comparison and like stories put onto you, and it can be really difficult actually to say, do you know what, that's your experience, that's what's happened to you, I'm going to choose my own way even though I don't feel confident in this area.
Yeah. Do you know what? Just, I guess this will be like a little tip for later. Um, but something that I've done, it is through making a decision at the moment. as I get closer. And I just decided, someone asked me, oh, what are you going to do about X, Y, and Z? Let's say it's breastfeeding or whatever.
Mm.
I just don't know. I don't want to share it in case there's loads of people with opinions, to be honest. I'll tell you
No,
off.
but this is the point. This is why, like, we stop. This is what's
It
holding
is,
us back.
yeah. Do you know what? Okay, it's true. It is, it's around having the sweep or not.
Oh yeah,
I feel like people are a little, like a lot of people, especially social media, are very judgy. But what I've done, but it's interesting, I wasn't going to do it on the podcast. But what I've done personally is when someone asked me, is I just owned it and I said yes, yes, I'm going to go for it. Yeah, I am having one. And I just thought own it, and then no one can say anything. It's the same as like the baby names. Just own it. Yes,
yeah,
this is what I'm calling my baby, and if you don't like it, I don't care.
yeah. I had a friend. She's just had her baby. But she had an original name, and she told her parents, and they didn't like it.
She
And
changed it.
and well, her first thought was like, "Oh, fuck you." But then when she was actually thinking about it, it's like, "Oh, I now know like my mum doesn't like the name." But yeah,
Yeah.
they did change it. So
Can
yeah,
I, do you know one as well though, linking it into like dating relationships? I'll tell you one that used to hold me back so much is if I went on a date with someone, I would think about what other people would think about their looks and things.
yes, I used to do that as
That's bad,
well.
isn't it?
And I'd also then like watch the door to see if anybody more attractive came in to see how people were looking at them as well. Isn't that awful?
Really? Oh my God, that's
Yeah,
a step further.
I know, horrible. Horrible,
No, but I
horrible,
really
horrible.
did care about that, which is like wild, really cared until I realized that was happening.
Yeah.
Um,
I was going to say, it would be really interesting to ask you guys actually, how much of your opinion of somebody you're dating changes when your friends like them, or changes when your friends meet them, or when your friends have an opinion? I'd be really curious about the answer to that because I think it's huge.
Yeah. Well, I guess like the other way round as well. Like you want them to like your friends and stuff, don't you?
Yeah.
Obviously, you want people to like them, but it's just how much you will make a full decision based on whether I'm going to go on another date because my friend made an opinion about them or whatever it is, even though it's something that you like this person. But anyway, that's a good example as well. Should we go into the tips?
Let's do it.
Okay, so should I go with the first tip? I feel like I've just led straight in there.
Yeah, I think you did.
So, just to be clear, so these are our tips to reduce caring what other people think, particularly dating relationships, but you know what? You can apply it to life as well. My first one is around actually just making a commitment to stand up, to stand out and just be like, you know what, I am willing to live my life no longer being held back by judgments, fears, and opinions. So, what I'm not saying is that people aren't going to judge. I'm just making a commitment that if I'm going to go for it, if I'm really going to have the kind of relationship I want and live life like aligned with my goals, values, dreams, I'm going to upset people. Not everyone's going to be on board. I'm going to love myself, do all of the things that everyone thinks is cringy, and that's my commitment.
I love that. It needs to go on like a little poster, like a little
I think you
little
have to commit.
affirmation card.
Yeah, you have to commit to being like, some people might not like this. This isn't about
Yeah.
how do we make people like it. This is, okay, so I'm going to have to stand up here and maybe sometimes be the only one to stand up.
And say, and it's such a herd mentality at the moment, isn't it? Like especially with like cancel culture and
Yeah.
social media, and God forbid anybody change their mind or opinion on something, or like decide that this path's not for them anymore. Like
Hmm.
you don't just have like your friends and family like saying, "Oh, what are you doing?" You've got like strangers on the internet commenting on your stuff.
Hmm. Like, as you know, my partner is much younger than me. And I just
Yeah.
had to be like, right, do I go with society's view typically, or do I go with the person that treats me well?
So weird because I'd never even think about being like, oh, are you sure you want to date him?
I
Like,
know.
because of an age, like it literally, is it going to matter when you're 70? No, it's not.
It did at the beginning, it definitely played a role. But again, it was me having this chat with myself, making this commitment. Yeah, okay. So people might be like, whoa,
Hmm.
interesting.
Yeah, I remember when I kind of made the commitment to myself that actually, first time ever, I'd admitted that I did want a relationship after years of being like single or the one with all the stories, and to actually voice it out loud and start telling friends and be like, yeah, this is what I want now, this is what I'm going for. Like I was so embarrassed because like people came around and they saw like my vision board, like an
Yeah.
engagement ring on it.
Yeah. Own
But
it.
you
Own
just have
that's
to be like, yeah, and what?
yeah, I like personal development. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
got a podcast, okay? I post my life on social media.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do about it. Oh God, yeah, so because I always have like mother-in-law following me and social media and stuff, and like I've just forgotten about it now.
Same.
At the beginning, it was like, oh, can I post that?
Yeah, 100%.
Right, tip two. This sounds very basic, but I personally think we need to keep revisiting this every year, every 5 years, 10 years, because guess what? As people, we grow and we change. So you have to get to know yourself. That is my tip. Spend the time getting to know yourself from the little things, such as what sandwich do I like? What wine do I like now? Where would I like to go on holiday? To the bigger things, such as what are my values? What maybe do I want from a career? What kind of partner would I like to be like? How can I show up in line with all of this stuff? How can I take action? Because the more you understand yourself and like who you are and are kind of strong in your convictions, even if it's simple as saying, do you know, I want Chinese tonight, not an Indian, the less you will care and change depending on other people's opinions and their convictions. So the kind of, we want to think about having that really strong core of giving yourself permission to change your mind, of course, but doing the exploration to get to know yourself and find out who you are and really like that about you.
Yeah, this can be the fun part. And actually, as you were saying that, just a little advert here. We do a lot of that on Glow.
Yeah.
A lot of that self-discovery, isn't it? Like, who am I? What do I enjoy? What are my values? And we get quite specific on that. But that said, many of you aren't going to come on to Glow. There's so many things you can be doing to explore that, just each day looking at what you enjoy, what you don't. But I love that as well, from like the small things, the daily things. Like, yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things for me, was just getting to know myself, and then tip one, and then making a commitment. Okay, I'm going to share who I am too.
Yeah. And not asking permission for people to, say this thing, or wait to see what they want to do, or wait to see what they want, or wait to see what wine they want to drink. I'm talking about wine a lot because obviously I haven't had any in a while. Um,
And do you know what? I reckon, does that lead us quite nicely into the next tip?
yeah.
Because you'll see how like all intertwined these are, and hopefully that's quite helpful, because it kind of really shows what is it actually takes. But this is about looking at what you want versus what you feel like you should have, what you've been told, what you've been conditioned, we literally, from the moment we can talk, are told how to live our lives, who we are, who we should be, what's wrong, what's right, when to shush, when to be quiet, when it's okay to laugh, when it's okay to cry, like whatever it is. And we then live our lives based on how we feel like we should be showing up. And we don't just stand back and go, what do I want in this situation? Like, if I was truly just to not even tell anyone else apart from myself, what do I want in this situation?
Yeah, because we kind of sleepwalk into huge decisions in our lives, don't we? Like getting married, trying to find a partner, having kids, buying a house, all that sort of stuff. And actually, if you're kind of bored at the thought of it, or if it doesn't light you up, or if you have friendships actually that drain you and you hang out with them more, these are all like micro little signs to evaluate kind of, what am I putting in my life? And is it based on what my mum thinks or what society's telling me to do?
Mhm. And I think once you start doing that, I guess the first thing is just to acknowledge, is this a should or a want? That itself is going to have this natural impact on you letting go a bit of what other people think, because you're going to realize, like, oh damn, if I'm going to live in alignment with what I want here, I'm going to have to let go of what they think. There's
Mm.
that's the natural next reaction, or you're going to consciously not do what you want. And at least it's conscious. I guess that might be a bit less painful than doing it consciously, but or unconsciously, lost myself. either either is painful, right? Is just living a life based on what you should be doing, or who says that anyway? I always ask myself that, like, whose standard is this that I'm putting myself to?
Yeah.
And that really helps. And when I realize it's someone that I don't even know or
Yeah.
barely know.
Yeah, actually, my relationship with even things like showing up on social media has changed a bit recently because actually it's why do I feel like I've got to kill myself every day to like post or show up and things like that. And these are just like weird standards I put in that don't actually align with like the way I work, the way I want to feel, all that sort of thing. So when you,
Mhm.
and also I think letting this go and letting this pressure go takes the pressure away from the perfectionism element a lot, which I know people struggle with so much. Being kind of needing to be perfect in their eyes and other people's eyes. And that's what increases also that fear of, thinking about what the people think, isn't it?
Exactly.
So yeah, take off the pressure.
Take off the pressure. Like, I want to stay in on a Friday and have a date night in watching the telly. And Jay Shetty said too many couples watch telly together.
Oh
Well,
my
guess
God.
what, Jay Shetty? We love it.
I know. I see like all these horrible Instagram posts, right, of like
I love Jay Shetty, by the way.
two two people like sat on their phone in bed being like, is this what you want your relationship to be? It's like, oh my God, that is my relationship and I don't care. Of course I'm going to sit on my phone and like not talk
Oh
or
my
bed.
God. Honestly, that's so funny. Okay, love that point. But I do love Jay Shetty. I've got to put it out there. I don't want people to think I'm hating on him.
Mm. He had loads of controversy, didn't he? Right,
No.
number four is obviously related again, but it is get out of your comfort zone. Normally, where we feel like stuck and stagnant, we feel bored, we feel like we want to shift, we feel like we need to try something different, is the calling that we need to take a risk and do something different. And this isn't just thinking differently. This isn't, trying to change the thoughts and stuff. This is more related to actively doing something new, whether it's something like taking yourself on a trip to solo travel, whether it's changing that career, ending a friendship, ending a relationship, calling in a relationship, like, going on a date, going to the gym, whatever it is that you see in your future or you have that niggle, just to push yourself a little bit more into that kind of level of and that area of where it feels a bit uncomfortable and your brain goes, no, 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 you don't do that. That is where the magic is.
Yeah.
So
And just to link that to that reducing what other people think or caring what other people think, it's one of the only ways to really find out that A, you can cope if they do care. If
yeah.
they do judge, you'll see that you coped with it. You might even see that you're like, okay, well, don't want you in my life that much anyway, then in that case. So actually, it's really powerful to take that action and then see what are the results. And not only that, if I look back at starting my business, it's the Instagram, it's the posting to the people that know you. I would say this. My experience was that either some people were so supportive that I didn't even expect it from. It was amazing. Many people actually just didn't care. Like,
Yeah.
didn't I was like, okay, like this is huge, but in a beautiful way, people didn't care.
Yeah.
And then I just think, look, if people were judging, I'm sure some people do, they've not said it to my face.
No.
My dad made a few comments. I just told him, we just agreed, okay, well, we're not going to talk about it then. And then he didn't like that either because he wasn't a big part of my life. So, well, a big part of a, a part of a big part of my life. So yeah, maybe that was a bit of a judgment,
Oh
but
yeah. I
freaking
was gonna
hell,
say
I got through it.
I definitely have family members who don't think I have a proper job. And like friends as well, if I really don't care.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the same like with our dating, with our relationships, right? No one's ever said anything to me about anything along the way, unless it's that I'm dating an absolute idiot and they really need me to know.
I was going to say actually, like, it can feel like such a risk when we're in early dating stages as well to a go on a date, get yourself on an app, talk to a stranger, um, or even show up on that date kind of being yourself or saying what you want, what you're looking for. Like, actually, you know what's really lovely? I'll share an example. Somebody I was talking to yesterday said, oh, okay, for the first time ever, I went on a date and I said, look, I'm really excited to meet somebody because I'm looking for that next stage of a relationship. And she was like, it was absolutely terrifying, but after, it made her feel so empowered and so like thrilled with herself. But also it meant the guy took her seriously.
Hmm.
Then he was then the one who brought up, do you want kids? Do you want to get married? Like, what do you see for your future?
Yeah, well, if you ask someone who's like secure enough, that they're not going to find that a weird thing to say. If you say that to someone who is, I don't know, emotionally unavailable, emotionally mature, whatever, all the lists that we can give them, they're going to be like, whoa, calm down.
Hmm. Yeah.
Great, thank you. That is exactly why you take more risks. That's how you stop caring what people think because you see, oh, okay, well, you're not for me anyway. But you got to see the results, and they're not all going to be good results.
No. Sometimes they're great though, aren't they? Most
Yeah,
of the
well,
time.
most of the time,
Yeah.
that's the thing is most of the time, if you do these experiments enough, most of the time you're going to see that you coped really well and it even went better than you expected. How many times does that happen? And actually, I'll give you our final tip as well, unless you've got any others to add.
No, I was just
It
about to say
is
go for it.
it is to surround yourself with people that support you. And sometimes the only way you really know who gets you, who supports you, who has your back, who also wants to celebrate you, is by being yourself, is by putting yourself out there. The only way we can see who is not on that vibe is through testing it out, you know? So that final tip is to really surround yourself with just high vibe. You and I, we're quite good, right? In terms of, yeah, we do want the positivity, actually. We do want the positive podcast. We do want the growth mindset. I do want to go to a self-love circle and feel supported by people and network and be around people that naturally get that glow out of you.
Yeah. Yeah, like you're the person I speak to that apart from my sister, like the most every day because we get, what we're trying to achieve and what we do. And like, if okay, if we have a day where we need to rant at each other, that's great as well. But it is finding people that do lift you up and who are going to actually say, okay, do you know what? If we go back to my example earlier, you do want that relationship. That's amazing. Okay, I'm going to hold you accountable. How can I help you get there? How can I support you in this next step? I'll
Yeah.
go to a singles event, I'll do speed dating with you, whatever it is, like who will, be really, really pleased and proud for you and of you.
Yeah, and seek them out. And then that way, again, if you are caring a lot about what other people think, if you've got these positive influences as well, and you've got this support that you know is a cushion, you're going to be able to handle it more. The thought of people caring, or if people do judge, if they do care, you're going to be able to handle that more, hence then reducing what people, the thought about what people care. Ugh. You know what I mean? That's good. Okay, well, that's all the points though. So
Yeah, that and oh God, it's so hard like not to say 10,000 more, isn't it? I've also just thought of another four amazing ones. But if you want to find out more and actually work on this, work on your confidence, work on that inner strength we've been talking about, please do check out the only and the first program we run together, which we absolutely love, love, love. But Glow's the 5-week program that's going to hush that inner critic telling you you're not good enough, get you out of your comfort zone physically, and find that inner contentment and that inner glow. So please do head to the description in the show notes and join the waitlist for the next one. It's going to be our second time running it, and we believe it is the foundations every single person needs to get that secure attachment, to get that healthy relationship, to feel confident dating. This is the groundwork, okay? This is the bit you can't skip. the self-esteem work, the confidence work, the foundational work isn't a bit you get to gloss over because we want the shiny goal at the end.
I love that. Episode 1, series 3 done. And we'll
Woo!
see you back here soon.